I wasn't quite ready to do another Starfield video yet, but Bethesda's about to do some kind of big reveal tomorrow that's likely to have the details of what's going to be in the expansion, as well as in upcoming patches. So just in case any of this stuff gets added into the game, I thought it would probably make more sense to talk about some of the little bits and pieces of incomplete things in the game before they're complete and added. Otherwise, I guess it would just be a retrospective. So without further ado, let's talk about some weirdness about ships in Starfield. If you've spent any time in the game trying to hijack ships, you've probably discovered the useful little bug of where higher level ships that the game doesn't want you to take that will have an inaccessible or locked hatch, if you rush the ship right as the landing party is disembarking and enter the ship right as they exit, you can get on board any ship, including this Starborn Guardian. This is a really useful trick for getting yourself an OP ship early, because you can just hijack something that's way above your level and then build yourself a totally optimized ship around a really powerful reactor and engine. And that's what I did with that. Well, it's not a phallus. Smoochie says it's a rocket ship, kids. Anyway, the ship you saw in the first shot of this video is one like that, where I just hijacked a level 60 or something ship when I was level 25 or something like that, and it had all sorts of parts that I didn't have the right skills to be able to buy those parts, but I was able to move them around and reconfigure the ship once I already had it. Beyond its usefulness though, I want to talk about why this happens and how it's actually a shortcoming of the engine rather than a bug. So, in all of Bethesda's games, going back to Morrowind, this is actually something that's existed that people have exploited in speedruns, where if you time it just right when an NPC is opening a door, even a locked door, you can go through it. Now, this is because Bethesda's game engine, now there's a great amount of debate. They will claim that it's an updated engine and it's not just this super old engine called Gamebryo. Regardless of what it is and what they're calling it, doors function in a very primitive way, almost like RPG Maker, where it's either locked or it's unlocked, and it has to be unlocked for any entity, player or NPC, to travel through it. Now, you might wonder why this would affect ship hatches, but actually if you think about it, your ship never moves in the on-foot maps, and it's only shown flying up and down in animations. What your ship door actually is it functions exactly the same as the player vault entrances in Fallout 76, where it's a player placeable teleport to another map. While I'm on the topic of the procedurally generated landing ships, you may have noticed videos talking about hotspots where ships land and you can easily hijack them. Now, as far as I can tell, this seems to be a glitch in the game's procedural generation, where sometimes when you set down an outpost or make a landing spot on certain planets, it just generates NPC ship landing spots all around you. I mentioned that my first outpost was on Captain 1, and that seemed to be one of those planets. Since this also seems to be broken in the sense that the level of these ships often doesn't seem to match with your own, it can be really useful. But let's talk about something that you probably haven't seen in other videos about useful exploits, and that is how pretty much every object that isn't a planet floating out in space is classified as a ship. So although you're not able to hijack them through normal means, pretty much anything you find out there, by using the console command try set player home ship, you can claim it as your own ship, including M-class ships. Now, it gets a little buggy when you do it this way, so I wouldn't recommend doing this. I wouldn't recommend doing this in general on a file you intend to keep, because using console commands will disable achievements. But it is a simple way to just kind of look around at what the crazy stats are on these things and what they have in them. Now, hold on a second before you immediately stop this video and go fire console commands at your game. There's a few things I should mention here real quick. So, using this method, you can claim ships that are part of side quests, and this will cause them to disappear from the location they're supposed to be in, and then your game will crash when you fly back there. So, another reason to have caution. Also, there are a number of mods that make this function better. Finally, this is something that Bethesda is going to most likely add into the game in the near future, because it appears to be pretty close to complete and functional within the game. Now, interestingly, this also applies to space stations. Now, this is extremely glitchy, and again, something that I would say, play around with the mod on a branch save that you don't intend to keep if you want to play around with this, but it is funny that you can claim all but the most core to the plot space stations and have them as a personal ship, and with a little bit of fooling around you can even stick a reactor and an engine in them and move them around. But it's really buggy because they don't fit within the editing screen. So the second you open it up within this menu, you screw it all up because the whole space station doesn't fit on the screen, and then anytime you spawn it after this, it'll permanently be chopped up like this. So yeah, this is extremely buggy. There is a mod that attempts to make space stations functional within the game, but mods and console commands void, achievements, so probably not something you want to do too much on your main save. I'm hopeful that these will be some of the features added in upcoming patches, and hopefully we don't have to wait for the actual major DLC. But I also kind of hope that they iron out using space stations a little more, because I really think it should function as an outpost and within that system, rather than currently they seem to function as ships within the game's world. And I think that's going to be a little buggy permanently. And since Bethesda has a bit of a reputation for taking something a little broken and just running with it rather than taking it back to the dirt and rebuilding it, let's just hope this isn't one of those times. I'm definitely having a good time picking away at this game, trying to figure out how it works inside. I hope y'all are enjoying the content, and I will probably make more in the future. Later.